Test, test. You guys hear me? is the sound? Hey, Ron. Hey, Jan. Ron, yeah, I was watching, I don't know what show, whatever show I was watching last night, and Utah had this commercial for the four parks. I've seen it before. Yeah, I've seen photos from there. I'd love to go out there someday because that place just looks gorgeous. And like you said, a week is not going to be enough. I mean, it's probably all I would have, but maybe when I retire, maybe when I retire. I bet you can spend a month out there and still feel like you haven't hit it all. That's why I may have to work longer so I have enough money to travel. It's kind of a catch-22, huh? Work longer so you have enough money, but then you're older and can't travel as much. So, hey, come on. Why can't I just win the lottery when I was like 30? Too late for that. Too late for that. So I'll call AD whenever he's ready. I said I gave him a 10-minute warning, which is about 4 minutes from now. But whenever you're ready, AD, if you want to type in there, I can call you. No rush. Whatever reason, the computer AD comes through on NTEM. I get a little buzzing noise coming from that computer. I got to figure that out. It doesn't make it through the audio. Hopefully you guys hear. I don't hear it in the when I go to edit, but it's in what I'm hearing, which drives me nuts. The one machine where I'm reading the chat from you guys, I know you can't see what I'm looking at, but the one above the one I talked to AD on. So I only use it for this show, and it was having it's a Windows 10 machine. They're all Windows 10 machines. Having some update issues, and it's the one, if you watch the show enough, you've seen sometimes where the web page was pausing or so I couldn't roll through something. So something with an update, it was still on 1709, and if you keep track of the Windows updates, the big one after that was 1803, then 1809. It was stuck on 1709, and every once in a while, the disk would go to 100% usage and lock the system up. And it's an SSD. It's all it has in it. So I had to reinstall Windows in order to get it to update. Now it's finally updated. So this is the first real test other than me doing test. First real test tonight as we stream to see if everything goes okay. We won't show that screen much anyway. But that's that. I put in chat earlier that it was cold down here in my basement. Got to like 65 today, which it was a really nice day. But the basement doesn't get too cold or too hot, but it takes it a while to warm up from whenever it was colder. So it's still chilly down here. So, I still wear my Alaska shirts for some of these shows. We're going back out to Alaska this summer. The return flight was on a 737 MAX 8, which at this point is grounded. So, still a ways off. Hopefully all that's solved by then. I'd really like to be solved by us flying back on another plane versus somebody saying, oh yeah, we think the MAX 8 is good to fly now. Yep. Whoever says that should have to come with me on that plane with me, with their kids and their mother. So if you have come here, I should have the word pre-show up there. If you've come here watching us on YouTube, we're only streaming to YouTube tonight, not Facebook. Talk about that a little later. We are in the pre-show. If you see that counter counting down, we'll start at around 8-ish. And AD, I'm going to go ahead and give you a call. we'll start around 8-ish. So you can skip ahead to where that counter comes down to 0-ish. I say ish because we don't always start exactly on time. Hey.
Hello.
So people can hear us. Let me get my other computer dialed in.
Oh,
here.
no, people can hear us. Oh, no.
Why all of a sudden is my second computer not showing up for me to call? What the heck? Come on, Skype.
Everybody updated to the latest Skype?
Yep, everybody's updated.
I do not know.
Let's see if that works. Yes,
answer.
Oh, hold on. You're not seeing anything because I have not done this. Bam, there we go.
Bam.
All right.
It's like Emerald. Bam, it's in there.
Bam, it's in there. So that should be working now.
It's huge on my screen.
Is it? I'm not capturing you, so let's go see what's happening there.
Fine. It says that you're capturing me. There's a warning that says Mike is recording me right now, and you should not say anything lewd or not safe for work.
There we go. No, I had switched it over last time I had Tim on, and that's what was there. So,
okay.
Before I forget, let me go ahead and get all the recordings started. How was your meetup thing today?
Good. I think we had a record number of people in there.
Well, your max is 24, right?
Yeah, I think on the server we had close to 19 or 20.
Wow, so, that is good. That's good.
Yeah, we were forcing people out. So make them go away somewhere else.
That's really good.
Not play with us.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make it. I had things going on here. So I'm trying to get some podcast stuff done.
Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
I'm going to try shrinking the window down a little bit, but I'm getting burst video from you, which means that essentially I'm getting like it's stopping and then going really fast and then stopping and then going really fast to catch up and then stopping and then going really fast.
I'm only using 14 of my 40 meg that I have up, so I don't know why
it's very strange. I don't know what they're seeing out there, but it's very like...
I'm getting your video...
So if I wave my hand, my preview in the corner up there is great. But what you're sending back to me is like, looks like, and then stops and then does this, and it's really very strange.
The live is good for me, and they're going to see my video straight off my webcam. How about my video?
No, your video to me in the little window, in the Skype window, is great. Your video that you're sending me from whatever that second computer is, seems like that computer is struggling with a keylogger or something is going weird with that computer not being able to render it smoothly. It looks like it's rendering and then it's choking to death and it's rendering. So it's bottlenecking somewhere for you.
Yeah, I probably should have rebooted these two machines before. You're getting an NDI feedback that way. So as long as you can see me and see the photo that we get
I don't need to, as long as it's not going out to anybody else like that. We're good.
No, we're good.
Cool.
So we're gonna go over a minute or so like we always do before we start the pre-show. We won't be too late. We are going to only do YouTube tonight. No Facebook. I'm not sure about the future of streaming to Facebook. I'm not going to get political here with anything, but
anybody sure about the future of Facebook, period?
I've had issues with streaming to Facebook in the past, and we don't get a whole lot of viewers over there because I don't know how many people are doing that. And YouTube has just been fairly reliable, and that's where most people come to chat. So rather than try and divide chat, for now, I'm not going to say this is going to be forever, but for now, we may just stick with doing YouTube.
I think I think it's better to focus and people can watch the YouTube feed on their television, and I know several of our viewers actually do.
Yeah.
Facebook is, also is restricted on bandwidth and what we can present, especially in a photo show.
Yeah.
Where if they have the bandwidth to watch it in 1080p, or maybe even down the road even higher resolution, I broadcast in 2K, just simply because it gives me more space on the screen to use, and the photos look better. So whatever for the show, whatever, as far as I'm concerned, is better is the way to go for sure.
All right. So, well, you ready to get started here?
Yeah, I'm ready, and I've got some bonus material for afterwards too. So
awesome. Do I need to have anything special ready?
No, it should be fine. We'll just screen share it. We'll do it in the post show, not
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let me get rid of that, and then that's right. Yep. All right. That's jpeg2RAW show number. Nope. Start that over. And let me do this. I'm going to do a clap to gather the sound later. This is jpeg2RAW photo review show number 45, and we're coming back with the final review of December images. Some of these images we've not seen before. Some of them, at least one of them we have, and it's a redo. And I'll show you the redo. I don't think I have it in the thing where you can see it. It's not a dramatic difference as far as, like, she didn't do a lot of heavy editing, but she did do a change based on feedback. And I think you'll see a big difference there with that.
Cool.
So I'll show before and after what she did. So we're going to wrap up December, and then we'll quickly, in the next show, head to January. If you want to enter, so now we're here in March, halfway through March. If you want to enter, you can go to jpeg2raw.com/contest, and there you have the link where you can enter through our website or through the Facebook groups. For now, the Facebook groups, we're still going to do that. Facebook is under a lot of pressure right now, and lots of departures from Facebook, and so who knows what the future holds. But for now is where a lot of our community is still based, and I don't have a good alternative because I think a lot of people like to stay on Facebook and do that. But that's for another day. We'll continue going there. You can enter through the website. I know several people, that's what they do now. Every month they enter through the website, so it's must be working for them. Head on over there. The theme for March is open. We're going to continue that for a while. So whatever you want to do. All right. So that's the intro and how you can enter. Let's get right into some of the images. Let me get that ready. All right. Our first one up is this image from Millen, our friend Millen. And Millen says, let's see. I'm not going to pronounce that right, but it's Smardoff Peak, or whatever. Smeed. I'm not going to even try it. As locals call this mountain, is located near the town of. I'm not going to pronounce that town either. Sorry, Millen. My English is bad. Everything else is non-existent for me. I can't speak that well with that stuff. Anyway, he says this is a magical place to spend some time. The nature there is amazing. I was at my village for the day, and near sunset, I've had some minutes to take a small walk. This was the sky I saw for about 5 to 6 minutes, then it was gone. I took as many shots and angles as possible. Awesome. Cool. But this one happened to be my favorite. It was built from 16 vertical shots in process with Lightroom and Photoshop.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know, AD, one of the things that we often talk about, or you often talk about here, is the balance between the sky and then the ground or whatever else there.
Yep.
And finding that, not having a horizon just right there smack dab in the middle, which he didn't do here. He did balance it with the sky much more prominent, and he overweighted the sky because I think for him it was the clouds and the light shining through those clouds. Yeah.
And so my thing is there's a lot of negatives surrounding the clouds, which are really close to the middle. So being that it's a little bit in a cinematic kind of format, but it's not quite there either yet. So for me, it's the composition is a tad bit confusing. There are some leading lines in it that look good. I like what he did with, and there's going to be another photo that we're going to talk about horizons and balance. I think for me, when I look at this image, and Mike, I could be wrong, but for me, what really speaks out are the God rays in the cloud, the dramatic cloud, which is very dramatic. And then there's a whole spot on the left-hand side of the image, which there is nothing. And I mean, it's just, poop, there's nothing there. And on the right, we kind of have like this kind of cloud coming in with a kind of nothing as well. So it's a little targeted towards the center for me. And we've talked about this a lot. Now, is there something that we could just crop it and change it? I don't think there is. I think this is one of those times where you're going to want to sit around and take a lot of photos from different angles and watch this cloud burst as it moves across the horizon and see which one balances out the best. I actually would have, and I know Millen, I know you shot these in vertical shots. Maybe that was kind of like your subliminal thought process speaking in the background, because I probably would have turned this into a portrait crop instead of a landscape, because it's really about that cloud in that part of it. And I think if he pulls in both sides and makes that cloud kind of right up through the center, and then has his horizon where it is and everything, and that nice mountain pointing up like that, I think you would see that the image would be a lot more powerful in that configuration. But that is just a suggestion to try. For me, if I was to take this shot, the only thing that would bug me is that it's a little lopsided balance-wise. There isn't like a push-pull. There's like a pull, push, pull going on here. The two skies are kind of pulling in both directions. And if I do that, I want to make sure that they're equal on both sides. There's symmetry there, which we don't, we rarely get that with clouds. So I don't usually, if I'm featuring a cloud burst like this, I probably wouldn't think symmetry in my head. Now, that doesn't mean it's not possible or something to try while you're out there, because who knows, you could be the groundbreaking photographer that comes up with symmetrical clouds somehow and it breaks through the fourth wall. I don't know. I'm not trying to quell anybody's, creativity there, but I know Millen always watches the rebroadcast of these, and it's a beautiful photo, and his processing is great on it. I love the bright colors and everything. That really, to me, he's been listening about the warmth of the sun and making it a little warmer, which makes you think of like this was a warm afternoon. I'm totally getting that from the image, and I think the end result there is that he pulled off an image that makes me say, oh, I'd like to be standing at that field right now and taking photos. So ultimately, no matter about the composition or any of that other stuff that we talk about, if he got his message across with the photo, that to me is a win situation. So I think as far as that goes, he did that with the photo. And we've talked about how Millen has come a long way since when he started, and his message in his photos is starting to really starting to speak more without the subtext. And I know you, if I was to ask Millen for one thing, I'd be, Millen, could you phonetically spell everything that you put in your notes, because we can never figure out how to say the words that he gives us in these wonderful towns and places where he visits.
Smeedoff Peak?
If I try, I'm going to murder it, so I don't want to do that.
Let me know if I said that right, Millen.
Right. So I think that what I see from Millen is just that he's starting to express himself through his photos without explanation. I think that's what I'm getting to.
So I have a question for you. You mentioned leading lines. So does the line of that's not probably a road; it's just a field, but there's a definite edge to the field that's been maybe plowed to the part that's not. So there's a line there, and then really the mountain range has a line going from our right to up to the peak. Do either one of those two lines help at all?
Well, I don't think that they help. That's the problem I'm running into. I think there's more of a hindrance there, because there's actually a line coming in from the far left too along that tree line. But none of them, like leading lines are great as long as they go to the point of interest. That's what we're always looking for. That's what a leading line's definition is that lines that draw our eye to what your prize is. And so we have these lines all pointing, but they're kind of their end point. As we follow a leading line, say the edge of that field like you are looking, it actually, if you followed it up and kept going, which is what your eye is supposed to do, it follows a line and keeps going, it actually points below the big cloud on the, more to the right.
Yeah.
So maybe, here's a suggestion. If he shifted his position a little bit and saw that line, he might have been able to line it up to point at that cloud a little bit more, depending on his perspective there. So that's a good point to make there. Right now, it's kind of, we got lines that are kind of crisscrossing. We have the field line, and then we have the mountain line, and they're kind of just going, the endpoints are one's over here and one's over here for me. Okay. So the trick there would have been to try to change your angle, maybe down lower or a little bit more over to one side, or maybe it actually probably would have moved more to my right, would have allowed it to open up those two lines so that they pointed right at that cloud. That would be my suggestion. So
very good. All right, thank you, Millen. As
awesome.
Always.
Keep it up, Millen.
Yeah, keep it up. All right, next image up is this one from Christina Binge, and this is a re-edit of one she did before. Right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what she says.
She says, image redo from February submission. I love going back and rewatching these, and she's talking about rewatching these, is this show right here. Then re-editing or reshooting images to enhance the original image based off the critique. I now want to shoot some images with backlighting after rewatching this review from February. I wrote backlighting down on my to-do list for my 52-week project. And this is the one where I have the original that
before
she did.
And after. Yeah.
So this is the one she re-edited and submitted for this the December contest. This was the original.
Okay.
So what she's done here, the big thing is the crop, and then the removal of the Kool-Aid. So
Kool-Aid.
This is the original. This is the redo.
Yeah, filling the frame more. I think the subject is right in the third lines. I really think that we had talked before about the lighting and everything. She pretty much nailed that. That was all spectacular. It was very dramatic. We loved the pose about it. I mean, we talked about all of that. So the only thing really was the distractions, and I think you can clearly see between those two now that she simplified the image quite a bit. Yeah. Plus, we're not doing an ad for Kool-Aid, right? Yeah. I mean, we know we kind of get that it's Kool-Aid, or that it's some sort of refreshing summer drink. We don't even want to say the brand name here. And that was one of the things that when I saw it distracted me from the rest of the image. So I think this edit was done quite nicely, and she just a very simple edit too. I was confused by the talk though. Christina says, and I know she's probably out there because she's usually hanging out with us, about backlighting, because this isn't backlit unless she shot some sort of light on a screen in the back.
I think our critique, or your critique, might have been to have some backlighting, and that's what she's was wanting to do when she redoes this.
Gotcha. So she's going to reshoot the image. Yeah. This was just a re-edit. Okay. All right. I didn't follow along with the text along. So the backlight, usually when we talk about that, just not to be confusing, would be to shoot a light from behind, usually using a snoot or something that focuses more of a beam of light on the back of her head, which would actually highlight around her hair and everything, and just kind of frame that her face even more. It's a pretty dramatic thing, but I kind of like, now that she's done the edit that she's done, I think the dramatic light just from one side, just having a point light from one side is just the photo's perfect. I don't, the other stuff would be experimental. I mean, you can always see what that does. A lot of times backlighting is really good with dramatic photos, like if you're trying to get them waving their hair all over the place, or, you're going for more of a silhouetted look.
I love this re-edit. I like the original, but man, there was two. I think with the original, part of the issue was the top. There was just too much space up there that was wasted.
Yeah, I mean, if it was going to be a magazine cover, by all means, if it was the Kool-Aid magazine, if they had a magazine, The very first photo would have been absolutely perfect. It's got the logo in there, and it's got space for a title up at the top. But if we're looking at more of like a portrait for the wall, I think this one says everything it needs to say without having the product in there.
Yep.
And it's it's more personal. You can get the emotion, I think, a little bit more. And I wanted to say too, knowing Christine, if she does experiment with the backlighting, we're in for a treat. I'm sure it's going to be amazing stuff, because she always submits great photos. So.
Yep. All right. Up next is this image from, I think, a new submitter, Scott Bridgers.
Yes.
Yes. And Scott, he named it Bodie Island Stars and Storm. He says, a friend and I try to plan at least one trip a year to shoot the Milky Way. This image was taken at the Bodie Island Lighthouse in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. The plan was actually to shoot the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse, but due to cloud cover, we decided to head back to Bodie Island, which was on our way home. But halfway there, the sky started to open up, and we were actually able to get a few good shots of the Milky Way. While shooting the Milky Way, a storm appeared in the background, and were able to capture a few lightning strikes off in the distance behind the lighthouse. This image is multiple shots blended together from the same night in the same spot. This is the first picture I've posted on Facebook where I got requests for prints from friends and coworkers, which goes to your thing about, you take a good image, if you super crop it, not that he did that here, if you super crop it, you're going to have troubles later on with the print. Yeah,
a few questions I would have for him. And welcome, Scott. Welcome to the critique family that we have going on here. And thank you for submitting your image. And also thank you for being honest, because I see a lot of images like this, and the photographers are not honest. They would be like, "Oh, I was out there and I took a picture, and then this lightning happened right in the middle of it, and I caught this amazing moment." And anybody who's gone out and tried to do this and knows the technical side of the camera knows that is not possible. It is not possible to gather enough light to get the Milky Way at anything more than f4 and a decent ISO, because essentially if you go up to like anything, even f4 is too much. I usually shoot it at f2.8 or f1.4 if I can, depending on the lens, and that's going to get you the stars without a lot of movement in them, and keeping your ISO to a point where you don't have a lot of noise. And the reason why you want that is because someone's going to request a print, and when you go to print it, you're going to be really disappointed when all of that noise shows up in your print. Mm-hmm. Or you have to denoise it so much that when you print it, it looks like a smudgy mess. So you've got to be really careful. So if anybody tells you that they took it all in one shot, they're just out and out lying, unless someone's invented a camera that no one has yet, or that not even like, a good company like Sony knows how to make. No, just kidding.
It must be an iPhone.
Right, yeah, must be an iPhone.
They're magical.
Anyway, right. So you need to composite an image like this, which means that you would shoot it like f2.8 and focus on the stars, get that shot, not move your camera, keep it right where it's at. Then you're going to focus on the foreground, because that 2.8 is not going to get the foreground and infinity at the same time. You're going to have to adjust for that, and you have to do it in the dark, which is the other hard part. So you want to bring lights with you so that you can put a point light out there and look at it through your viewfinder and get the focus for the foreground, and then you'll blend those two images together. This was several images and some editing blended together, and he did a great job. I don't have a problem with this. I know he explains in there that I put multiple things together, and you might be thinking, well, geez, the lightning storm and blah, and the Milky Way, and geez, what else you gonna put in there? Like Superman flying through the phone. He gathered all of the cool things that happened to him that night and put them in one image without moving his camera, mind you. And I'm okay with that. I'm all right with this kind of edit, because it brings that back to, he wants you to experience what he saw while he was there. He saw this beautiful Milky Way, and he saw the lighthouse, and that's fine. Where I caution against photos like this is you better make damn well sure that there is no noise and no smudginess in those stars, and that all of that background is nice and clear and perfect focus, because when you get those asks for prints, you might get some 8x10s, but someone's going to come along and they're going to be like, you know what? I got a lot of money. I want that on my wall. No, I want it on my wall. I mean, my whole wall. That's what I want. Wow. You know, I want a 96-inch print on metal so I can really see this. And you're going to get people who live in this area who have multi-million-dollar homes that want to put this on their wall. And you wouldn't be surprised how your photos reach out and grab these people and they see this and they want it. So don't be surprised. That's going to come along. And it's a great thing to strive for. But you better, when you sell a photo for, say, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, you want to make sure that when they put it on their wall, they're not like, oh, why does that look like that?
That's and then you call Facebook, yeah.
Right. That's not what I saw on Facebook. And so the internet is not really good for letting you see photos really, you know, the way they are. And so I can't see on this photo, I can't critique on this photo anything other than I love the fact that he brought an image and he was able to composite it together and bring that back to the viewer. My critique would lie in asking Scott about the technical side of it. Are those stars clear? Can I see a 1-to-1 of those stars? Can I see all of your edits? Can I see where you mashed your clouds in with your, you know, with your stars and all that kind of stuff? Because typically we know that capturing lightning usually results in a long exposure. We usually keep over and over and over again. We'll shoot 10-second shots over and over and over again, or 5-second shots, whatever the exposure calls for. We just leave the shutter, keep going, and when the lightning hits, it'll be in the shot. So I would ask those questions. I'd like to see a 1-to-1 of this image and be able to look at the edits close up before I can give like my official seal on, good job, Scott, you nailed it. Mm-hmm. You should sell a lot of these photos. But be wary, especially if you guys are starting out. You put an image out like this and you can't follow it up, which means you can't walk the walk, okay? And you can't handle that. You might as well go and try something else in photography or try some other sort of hobby, because you're going to hurt yourself more than you're going to help yourself if you have to deal with a lot of people who aren't happy with their prints. It's not a good foot to get off from, you know, your first foot to get off on. So just be careful. I want to see images like this, but feel free to send us 1-to-1 images so I can really zoom in, take a tight look at this kind of stuff, because I would love to help you if that's what you want to do.
So let me ask you this then. If you, sure. So let's say, and we're not saying, you know, one way or the other with Scott, we can't really tell from what you put up on Facebook.
Right, we can't. Right.
But it's probably better if that, let's say the case is that it has issues, that there's noise in the sky and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That when you get those print requests, that you wouldn't print for those people who want those really big ones. They're going to pay the money for those really big ones. That you might self-select. I'm only going to print up to a certain size,
right?
Rather than do harm for yourself. You know, if you got a good image, you know, do whatever. But do you think that's good advice to say, hey, if I got some issues here, I'm going to limit the size?
Yeah, it is and it isn't. I mean, you know the phrase, be careful what you wish for. Right. I mean, we all get into this, I think, as a hobby, and then it grows. People see our images. You start thinking, oh, wow, I'd rather do this than, you know, 9 to 5. Or, right, yeah, exactly. And I would suggest that Scott get some prints done before I know this is so hard to do. It's really hard to go out and take an amazing photo and not be proud and want to show everyone what you've done. That is kind of like a driving force for what we do. We want to share what we do. There's certain people who want to do it for just the approval thing, and that's fine. There's certain people who do it that they want. The reason why I post my photos is because I want to inspire others to want to go to these places, and I want to give them the feeling that when I was there, maybe that will make them want to go there and see it and do that sort of stuff. So I think it's just one of those things you got to be careful. I probably, before I would release an image like this, I would get it printed myself so that I know, because you're not going to be able to speculate about how big that's going to print. You're going to actually have to print something that's expensive to get done. You've got to pay to have the prints done. But I think you've got to do that with images like this, Milky Way images especially, because you can even zoom in 1-to-1, and then when you get them back from print, they don't look the same. When I was starting to do metal prints, the metal print process, which is very misleading because it's not actually a print, it's actually a sublimation dye process, so it's more like actually a developed film than it is an actual print. They just call them metal prints. But when I got my first print back, I was like, well, that's horrible. And I got right on the phone. I'm like, hey, what the hell's wrong with my image? Is like really dark, and this doesn't make any sense. And he's like, well, part of the process of the sublimation dye and the transfer process, images do come out more contrast oriented, and we do specify that on our website, which I didn't look at. I was just like, I want to get this. This is awesome. I want to do this. So then I had to change my process so that when I went to that medium, it ended up looking like what I saw on the screen. Because and I'm not talking about monitor calibration, because I had done that already. That was my first argument to them was, hey guys, I calibrate my monitors like every other week, and so I know that the gamut and everything is right. And they're like, well, this is part of the process. And they did show me on the website that they had a thing right clearly that I didn't read.
Yeah. But they tell you what to do, so you can they just basically said that you want to process the photo to look a little bit more faded than what you expect it to be. And they gave me a few suggestions to try. We did a couple of test prints. They sent me some small prints. Most print houses will send you demos of your photos on small prints for free, because they want you as a customer. Right. And they'll send you a little 6x10. And that's all you need to really see it on. And so they did that back and forth a couple of times with me. This was when Black River Imaging was Black River Imaging, and they weren't owned by other people. Bay Photo is who they're owned by now. But they were very, they'd call me up and they'd say, yeah, we're printing it right now. And this is what we're seeing. And we'll send this out to you. And I'd be like, cool, man. And so we'd have that 1-to-1. And so if you can find a print house that'll work with you and get a few of those images done like that before you go to print, it's really important to do that before you start advertising something out to the world, and then get the request for them, because it's like I always tell people with the website. You and I have talked about this before, Mike, about self-hosting for me was a wonderful thing to self-host my website right up until I had a story go viral and they crashed my website on my computer. And my computer wouldn't work anymore because I'm like, thousands of people are spamming my cable connection at home because I was self-hosting my website. So I went to a big web provider and said people who could handle it. And so, but I missed there was a big missed opportunity for me, because there was a lot of people who never got to see that viral story from the beginning, right? And so that's one of those things. It's just like that with this print thing. It's a wonderful photo. I love it, Scott, and I'm glad that you submitted it. But I can't critique it other than to tell you that, the composition's good. I like that. I like what you did, that you brought that idea home, but I would be very surprised if it's ready to go to big print, just from what I'm seeing. And that's what I'm seeing on the screen. I'd have to see it 1-to-1, and then I would really be able to help you decide, what you can do there. So the lesson, if you're like me and you hardly ever print anymore, the lesson there is when you get an image like this that you think may have an appeal from people that might want to print it, is to go ahead and print it yourself and get familiar with some of those print processes, so that when somebody comes, you're ready to go and you know what to expect from your image.
Yeah. And here's another tip for you. If you're out with friends and you went and shot this with a bunch of other friends and they're doing the same photo, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I got to get mine out there before my buddy gets it out there so I can show, my fans I did it first or whatever. Don't think like that. Show a picture of you working on the photo. You don't have to show if you want to show people, just say, hey man, working on this new photo. I'm going to be super excited to show it to you guys when it's done. And that buys you some time in the social media world to work on your photo and get it right. Let your buddy release his anytime he wants to. Let him fumble over and find out that the process may not work the way that he thinks it. Don't worry about that. You get caught up in that sort of stuff, and your art's going to suffer because of it. Just focus on what you're doing. And I would hold back a little bit. I see it with a lot of photographers. They go out and take a photo. They come home. They want to get it right on the internet. I think the idea of taking your phone and taking photos and then sharing it with everybody, especially if you're trying to make a name for yourself as a photographer, you're going to miss something at one point in time. And I tell you what, one thing is all the internet needs to just forget about you forever. Mm-hmm. So you got to be super careful when it goes with this kind of stuff. But it's a beautiful image. And I hope Scott submits some more to us. And Scott, like I said, well, if you want to get a one-to-one image to me to look at close up and do a more in-depth thing, just let Mike or I know, and we'll arrange it. We'll figure it out. That's what we do on this show for everybody. So yeah, that's always out there.
Yep. Thanks for submitting, Scott. Wonderful
Absolutely.
image, and like AD said, we'd love to see more. All right, up next is this image from Jose. And Jose says, the pattern of horizontal, vertical, and diagonal lines of the trusses, beams, and columns caught my eye in the interior shot of this abandoned hangar in Tonopah, Nevada. I knew that I didn't want to take a literal shot, so I converted it to black and white, added a severe vignette, and a border to push it more as a symmetrical fine art piece. Taken with an infrared camera and a fisheye lens.
Cool. I like all that. Yeah, he's got, I'm just checking his lines real quick. So it has a tendency to look like it's leaning a little bit to the left to me, that the left side is down, but it's not. He's done a very good job of making sure that the sides of the image are symmetrical. But it does have a weird feel to it, like it is.
You think that's the fisheye doing that?
Well, no. I think what it is it's the shadows and light on the ground, which is the sun wasn't directly over top. It was kind of off this way a little bit to the left. And so it's making the lines on the bottom kind of...
just a little bit off.
Right. They're going one way while the lines up top are going straight. So the idea here... Jose, would have been to make sure that you were here right at dead on noon. And if you miss that moment, then you got to come back another day. Other than that, I mean, he did a wonderful job of the windows are, perfect. You couldn't cut a mirror image much better than that. It's just that the light on the ground was not. And a lot of times we talk about this sort of image. It's that decisive moment, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times patience is going to get you that very perfect symmetry. And here I think that you're kind of being foiled by the light being on the floor being off, and that's making it feel like it's tilted when it's not. He's got the line straight on the windows because I just measured all of that with my edge of my screen. And I just use the edge of my screen, which is always straight. I'll just drag the window down and look at it on the edge of the screen, and I can see that the windows are nice and level. The beams are level. All of the windows on both sides line up. The bottoms and tops line up with each other. So he's done a wonderful job there. Unfortunately, he got screwed over kind of by the sun. So this is one of those things where gotta go back, gotta take it again. If it's me and I'm calling it fine art, when I start to get to fine art, man, with fine art, you got to go over stuff. That's the whole point of fine art is fine tooth comb perfect, and then nail in the shot along with that, that's what makes it very hard to accomplish. Black and white, awesome. Love the contrast. I love all of the noise going on to the center of the image. I think that's cool. It's just I really would like to see it where the shadows were in line with the symmetry, because it's not symmetrical with those shadows in there. I would really contest that if he cut the whole bottom of the photo off, he would see that. If he cut the floor off the photo.
No, you can see that even without it. It's the lines are just pointed a little bit different in the shadows.
That's what I'm saying. But if he cut the floor out, he would see that. That what it's doing to it. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great photo, though, in a great attempt. It's just, man, you got to notice all them little details when you get to calling stuff fine art and you start labeling that level. And I got to be honest with you. I don't think he's doing this, but don't put your stuff out there and stick it in the fine art category. Fine art develops itself. Okay. So you put your photos out there, stick to an internal theme that you believe is fine art, but don't pigeonhole it or label it. Let your people who enjoy your work and whatnot, they'll raise you up to that plinth themselves. If you try to put yourself up there right off the bat, you might end up with more resistance than favor. So just be careful with that when you're putting stuff out there. I'm just coming from self-experience, so just so you know.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Jose. A wonderful image as always. So Jose submits great photos quite often.
Yeah, I'm very jealous of the location, by the way.
All right. Next image is, this is another new photographer to the group, I believe. Oh, wrong name. Hold on. That's not Jose. That was the last person. Mm-hmm. It is, let me give him time again. Malcolm Fairman.
There you go.
And Malcolm says, I planned the night before to go 60 miles to where this church was. But three times earlier that morning, I almost turned back as looking over to the French coast could see no stars. And that was the direction of the sunrise. It meant it was cloudy over there. However, I went for it, and wow, was I pleased I did. First, the ground was covered in mist and sheep droppings. But the mist. But the mist, that was the thing. The sun before it rose lit up the clouds with a red flare effect, which lasted about 2 to 3 minutes. That picture alone was worth the price of admission. The actual sunset was beautiful too, but again, last minutes before the sun rolled up into the clouds. Walking away, I turned for one last look and saw the picture. Some diffused light on the front of the church. The clouds were lovely, the mist thick. That's the picture you have here. Shot with a Sony at 1/1000 of a second, 2-second delay, and timed it as the 4 birds flew over. I could not have been happier. I just knew that I had taken one of my best ever pictures. Sometimes you just feel it without even getting home and looking at it on the computer. Then he said process was to add a little saturation to the cloud and increase the contrast. Color correction for the whole image.
Nice. Cool. So I guess I would ask, a lot of story there for Malcolm. And I got most of it from looking at the photo without reading Malcolm's story. But I guess that... I guess what we normally ask for, Malcolm, and I'll just put this out there because we talk about this each time when we do this show. Your photo needs to speak for you without your words. That's where you cross into the line of, I think, what Jose's going for, and what so many photographers go for is the image is worth 1,000 words. We've heard this before. A picture's worth 1,000 words. That's what a good photo does for us. I think this photo did that on its own without your wording. My question would be, why did you submit it to me or to the show? And to know that, I need to know what you were going for with your composition, what you were going for with your color processing, and that sort of thing. Because for me, the composition is not good, and the color's great, like the color. I think you could have bumped it up even a little more. And really, you mentioned red sun in there. We could feel a little bit more of that heat. I think, and I don't think too many people would be upset. But that's okay to err on the side of caution when it comes to saturation. I totally dig that. For me, though, I'll give you a few suggestions. I think you caught the great moment, great atmosphere, nice composition between the clouds and the church. The light on the front of the church is beautiful. The setting is wonderful. The birds gotta go. Birds do not belong in this shot. It's a nice thought and a nice, I caught them while they were right over the church sort of thing. But what do those birds do for this image, really? They draw my eye to a blank part of the image, and that's not what you want. The light is what you want in this image. That's what you captured here, was the sun. You talk about it more than the birds. In fact, you left the birds for the end and kind of tacked them on. That tells you right there, they're just tacked onto the photo. Get rid of them. I think you could take this and crop it down and do a cinematic crop below those birds, and you would be like, oh, wow, this is just, it's a cinematic shot. It's going to look like it's straight out of a movie. And they're not really doing anything for you up there. If they were down lower in the image, maybe, and balanced with the church, maybe over on the right-hand side a little bit. But there's just that blank blue up there with birds. That's another image. That's a whole other thing going on. You got, that's they're got their own show up there. And the other suggestion I would make is make sure that you are doing your border patrol, because when I see this image, I think old country church, old country house, farm with the sheep and the light. I think simple. I think old times. I think the old ways things used to be. And then I look over to the left and I see a power pole right on the edge of the photo and lines. And I don't want that. I don't want to be reminded that man still exists and are putting up, signs and lines everywhere to ruin our photos. And that's what they do. They only put those things up. They could put all those underground. They don't. They put them in the air. They're just like, you're not going to take a photo of that because I'm going to put a line there. So if you look on this and you follow that line, I was looking at the fog and enjoying the bridges, and I was zooming in on the bridges. I do have an image of this that I can zoom in a little bit on. And when I got to the left-hand side, I see a power pole and the light glinting off the power pole and lines over there. You're going to have to, I would make sure that's edited out of there. You don't want those utility people interfering with your gorgeous shot that you have captured here. And aside from the birds, and they could be moved, by the way, you can just clone those things and move them anywhere you want. But I don't think they're necessary. And I don't know how Mike feels about this, but for me, I look at this image and doggone it, every time I start to enjoy the church and the light, my eyes see this blotch in the corner and I look at the birds. And I'm like,
I go to the birds every time. And
why am I looking at the birds?
what I was thinking, and the church to me is a little bit too far to the right, to our right. I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit more to the left. That would crop off those power poles you're seeing. And then, like you said, I don't need all that blue that's taking up, good gosh, 40, maybe almost 50% of the sky.
Yeah, it's not negative space. I want to specify here, it's not negative space because you got birds in it.
Yeah.
So it's active space. It's positive. It's a big negative space with some positive in it, so it's drawing our eye up there. And you got to always think simplify when you're thinking of an image like this. The less subject things going on, generally the more pleasing it's going to be. You got sun and fog, a little bit of sheep in there, the sheep are really non-existent almost. You got to look hard to see them. And that's a nice find.
Yeah.
They're not distracting, right? They're in the background. They are background. To me, you want to really focus on the light on the church, the front of the church, and that light, beautiful light coming from the right.
Yeah. And so I think what we're saying, Malcolm, is, you got a good moment. You got a good picture here.
Absolutely.
And try some different crops. You don't have to destroy your original. These are these are all non-destructive. Right. Try some different crops and see if the crop we're talking about, you actually come back and go, oh, wow, this is even a better image than what I thought it was.
Right.
Because I think, like ED said, capturing those birds flying over is kind of cool, but it distracts from the image.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Other than that, man, keep submitting photos. I love seeing new faces. And let us know what I was getting to. Let us know why you pulled the trigger on this shot. Why did you press the shutter button? I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I want to hear it from you. Mm-hmm. This was all running, this was all happening this way, and I wanted to capture it this way. And then tell us why you composed your image the way that you did, and why you processed it the way you did. Those three things, and I can give you a solid critique based upon your goal from the image. And it might be as simple as, dude, you nailed it. You're done. Yep. You nailed it. Or it might be, you nailed it, and here's a few suggestions I would try. Or it might be a full-on, let's start over. Who knows? But
sometimes you got to do that. Yep.
Yeah. Without that information, though, you're just hearing me talk. So, Malcolm, I mean, that's essentially what it is. It's just what I would do as a photographer. So take that with a grain of salt. Is all I'm
speaking
saying.
of that, as we head into the next image, you're just gonna hear us talk, because unlike what Malcolm did, who gave us a nice write up, and like AD said, a little bit more information about why, but Malcolm gave us a good write up. Debbie, you didn't give us anything, nothing here. So I imagine this is a photo of your cat, and I think that Debbie has. A decent lens, because it looks like she's got really good bokeh there, really smooth bokeh with that. And I often one of the tips I give to beginners is to always get down to the level of your subject. Mm-hmm. That's a soft rule. I think like all rules in photography or maybe in life is a soft rule.
Oh yeah, so, absolutely.
This image, just because it's not head on with the cat's face, I think it still works. Not everything has to be head on with the face. So,
sure.
Yeah.
I think that Debbie, if I was a strict teacher, which I've been told that I've been called in fact, a student sent me this little bobblehead because of the sledgehammer. And they told me that I was the velvet sledgehammer, which don't Google that, whatever you do. But I would probably say, Mike, let's go to the next photo, because the person didn't provide anything for me other than the photo. And you got to put the effort in if you want to get the results out. Now, with that said, I think Debbie also knows that, she's not I don't think she's a beginner photographer at all. And so, we get to feature her fine work on the show. So I don't know what Debbie's looking for here. The only suggestion that I had when I looked at this image was, I'm not a big fan of people facing away from the camera. So you notice how the cat is facing the composed side of the image. So the face of the cat is in the left thirds, but the body is in the right thirds. I think if I was going to have the cat facing the left, I would want the cat's face in the right thirds. If that makes sense? Or in the center. It's kind of an odd thing. Or it needs to be a little bit more balanced with the cat's body, a little bit more to the right, with the cat's head right where it's at. So if Debbie moved a little bit to the right, she could have got more of a side shot, I think, a little bit, which, with the trees and everything around might have been more difficult because we weren't there. Right. But we don't have any information to go by. So I'm just winging it here. But it seems as like the image is a little unbalanced to me, where there's more space around the body of the cat on the right-hand side than there is on the left-hand side. So it feels a little like I would think that the body part is going to be symmetrical with the actual subject, which is the cat's face, if we're breaking it down here, in the left-hand side. So I just would like to see the cat turned a little bit in the image, if that makes any sense to you. Other than that, I mean, the color's great. The focus, as far as I can tell, is right on the eyes. Yeah. Perfect, right? I mean, and Debbie always submits good images, so it's not like we have a lot to talk about here other than showing a great image from her. So that's just little stuff, Debbie, is all. So
okay. Now we're going to move into the last image. This last image we're going to review for the December images, and this one is from Amber.
Yes.
And Amber doesn't give us a lot here either.
Nope.
she does say, took this one of my boy with my Olympus and a fisheye lens. And obviously black and white.
Yes. Yeah. So we've talked to Amber about she likes to have fun and try different things, which includes color process. It includes props. It includes composites, where she puts different things together. And here she's exploring lenses and what they do to folks. And we can see that a fisheye lens, which usually isn't used for portraiture, simply because it will either make you look like you have a fat head or a fat body or both.
It distorts you, yes.
Yeah, the distortion is almost too much for images. But in a case like this, where she's got a comical look on his face, kind of giving you a kind of look, is what I get out of this. She used the fisheye lens just right to reduce the size of his body, make his head swelled, which is what the look he's giving you is that look, right?
Yeah.
He's like, like leaning into the camera. I think she executed this quite well with using the fisheye lens. So again, Amber showing that experimenting and playing around with this stuff is exactly how you learn. Making the mistakes is how you learn. And she brought us many images that were great, but they had little things that she learned about them, and she keeps applying and applying and applying and keeps coming back with better and better images every time. She's just like Millen in that effect that, you know, she started out one way and she's ending up here with excellent fun stuff. So
she's definitely she's progressed along the way, and I like the way his, you know, she, like you mentioned, minimize his body, have him turn his face like that, and then the distortion that's happened to his face is I like that effect that's happening there. And black and white here I think is perfect.
Yeah, a couple things, Amber, just to watch for, and I know you love this kind of information, so I'm going to give it to you. Again, with the balance of the image from the left and the right, there's a little bit too much room on the his left-hand shoulder or on the right-hand side of the image. Try to bring that in a little bit so it matches the other side, because this is a very symmetrical image with his eye in the center. So if you could just move that over just a little bit, you'd be fine. And then his glasses, where you did the composite on his glasses next to his left eye or on the right side of the image, you can see that through the glasses is a little lighter than the background is. And you have to be careful when you do that sort of cutout around the image to put in your background. Make sure that those are matched. There isn't any difference there, because we wouldn't look through his glasses and the background would be lighter. If anything, glasses would make the background a little darker, because glasses, you know, bend and distort light a little bit.
And could have a little bit of a tint to them.
And they could have a tint to them as well, but I'm pretty sure they don't lighten things up. At least I haven't found any glasses that make anything brighter other than my LED glasses, which I refuse to wear on camera. So, but yeah. So just be careful with those composite things in there, Amber. But I know you'll focus on that sort of stuff and nail it. So. All
right, that was the last image from December.
Finally.
Next show we'll head into January. But if you want to subscribe to the show, we're obviously on YouTube. You can, you know, follow us there, or subscribe, whatever, on YouTube, and do that little bell so you get the notice when we go live. But we're also on iTunes Video Large and Video Small. We're on Vimeo, and then have an RSS feed. You can get it from there. So if you want to get the show recorded later on. Also, head over to AD's website, theexplorographer.com, where you can, you know, read about AD's latest adventures and his beautiful photos. And also, he has all his different ways to connect with him, including Who is AD? Go over to the Who is AD link, and right down there is a form where you can fill out, and if you want to email him and contact him that way.
Yes, please read that and then tell me who I am, please. Help me. Help me.
Help tell AD who he is.
Yes, right.
And then, of course, check out his store where you have, what do you have over here, AD? Let's see. Photo Tool Store. Go over to Photo Tool Store. And you have Lightroom presets. You have stuff for Aurora. You have stuff for Luminar and Photoshop.
Yes, and we have some new things coming. It's just production is very slow on my end because I'm lazy and I don't get things done when I'm supposed to. So
I know the feeling.
And I get yelled at for that all the time. So, but I do have some new things. Hopefully, before the summer hits. There's been a lot of slowdown in my world lately as far as my production goes, because I'm crammed in this little office and things aren't ideal here. So I've been using that as my overall excuse for not getting things done. But I promise you, I do have some, we have some new Lightroom presets coming out. I'm working on some things for Luminar and some other programs too, outside of those, like Topaz and a few others. So,
yeah, I don't know about you, AD, but if I don't feel right, I don't get into the mood. So one of the things for me, if things are disorganized, or if one of my computers is not acting right, and it's different for everybody, but those little things throw me off, and I have trouble getting motivated to do other things. And so everybody's a little different on what those things are that throw you off. So I can definitely, feel you when you say that your space isn't right for you, and that is distracting and can throw you off. But hey, you know, sooner or later, you know, it's not like it's our last day here, hopefully.
Right. Well, and it's one of those things too. As a creator, I can tell you firsthand. For me, I really have to be in a certain mood in order to do my best work. And I know that sounds cliche, but I can't go out and just create things without being in the right frame of mind to do a good job on them. So it's just that's one of those things where they come as they come. And I used to be that way with songwriting too. I couldn't write a song unless I was in the right mood. My band would hate me for it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to write a piece of junk. And after a while, I would just get to the point where I would create things, whether they were bad or indifferent, because I always felt that you had to get the garbage out in order to get the good stuff out too. So it's kind of a process with me. I'll go a while and then I'll be like sick of myself and won't be able to do something. And then I'll be like, to hell with it, I'm going to do it. And I do it and get through the mess. So it's my own personal hurdles that I deal with. So
I'm not nearly as creative as you. So I don't know if this is the case with everybody, but it feels to me, for me, I have to be in the right mood to be creative. I can't force it.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's not going to be good either way when I do it, but if I do force it, it's really going to be bad.
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure.
All right, and then your other place, what is happening here?
TheCreators.com.
TheCreators.com over on Patreon, where you can go over there and you can become a patron of ADs. And we've talked about this before. Even for just $1 a month, on up to, depending on what you want to do with AD. But as for as little as $1 a month, you become a patron, and you have access to all the videos when you do them, all the training videos that you do them, and your posts there. But you can go all the way up to, what is it, $75 is the ultimate. And for that,
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the $75 tier.
Well, if you want mentorship, so if you want to have access to me, call me up like you would your best friend and say, "Hey man, I'm working on this project. Help me out. I want to make my photography a business. I need a website. I need to know how to make a website. Anything that has to do with your creativity, essentially, I am at your beck and call each month for the $75. So essentially, and you can't call me every day, but I'm very, anybody who's on that, like right now, Janice is one of my $75 contributors, and Janice Sullivan, and we produce a show for her 2 times a month. I will produce a show, so she gets a podcast. All she has to do is Skype call me, and we produce a show, and she has guests on the show, and I arrange all this stuff for her, and then I broadcast it for her on her YouTube channel. So that's the kind of stuff that I do at the $75 level. Now, before you ever go to that, don't just go to Patreon. If you wanted to do that, don't just go there and be like, "Oh yeah, sign me up, let's go." You want to contact me and talk to me about it first, because there's obviously limitations to what I can pull off. Can I change you from an accountant to a full-time photographer? I probably can't do that. You have to do that. What I do is I am there to help you get over the hurdles. That's what a mentor does. But you have to have the motivation. Janice has great motivation. She does a lot of work herself, but when she hits a hurdle, she calls me up, and I'm like, "Let's work through this. Let's get around it." Sometimes I hold her hand and I do it for her, and she watches me do it and tries it herself, and we work through it that way. Sometimes I make her a video, and she watches the video, and boom, she's off running. But she has that motivation. That's what she wants to do. I don't do that for people. I'm not like a Tony Robbins, and I'm like, I'm gonna, today we're gonna do this, and we're gonna climb this mountain. I don't do that. You got to want to climb that mountain yourself. I'm just a guy who says, this is how you put the crampons on. This is how you use the ice pick. That's basically what I'm doing. But as far as going up that mountain, you got to have the drive to do that. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what I do.
And I produce this show here. If you're not into that, like, I don't know, maybe Janice is not into that. Right. This can be, depending on what you're doing, this could be fairly complicated. And being able to push that off to somebody else that could do it for you, where all you need to worry about is the content and getting the guest and then just talking. that really takes a massive load off of somebody versus having to learn the software, set it all up. You know, like in my case, it takes more than one computer and all that kind of stuff, and then getting everything set up. Sometimes I make this look easy. Sometimes I make it look really hard. I
can say, Mike, I can say for what you are doing on your end, you are taking something very difficult and making it look very easy compared to what I do, which is a completely different thing, the way I produce my show. But I tried to do it your way and and I'm like, no, I'm never going to understand all of this or be able to do this as smoothly as Mike does it. So I ended up seeking an alternative. But that was the whole reason why Janice contacted me about doing it, is because she just wanted to enjoy the show and talk to her people and do her thing. She didn't want to be like, okay, now I've got to run a stinger right here into another video.
Where's that at? Yep. How do I even set that up?
That was how the flow of her show. Now she just says, it's critique time. Boom, the thing plays, and then she's doing her critique, you know? And so, yeah. But the $75 thing is very rare when people go to that level. Really what I want to do is get 1,000 people doing the $1 thing and giving me ideas to make videos. That's really what that's what I want to do. Right now, the community is a little bit stagnant. People aren't giving me suggestions for videos. I do have a series coming up on collaborating with Premiere, which is a lot of people want to start producing videos on their own. And to do that, you need to use Premiere or HitFilm Pro or Sony Vegas or some sort of processing software to make your videos. And Premiere is one of the most popular. And I'm going to show people how they can share projects with a couple of simple clicks. They can send a project off to a friend, and they can edit it and send it back. And you can swap these files back and forth quite easily and collaborate on projects. A lot of people ask me, like, could you produce this video for me? I've got it almost done, but I don't know what to do. And I can show them how to make a project manager file with Premiere, send it across the internet, and then I can edit it and give them a file back that is fully edited and ready to go. So that's one of the new things that I want to cover. We've had a couple of people, including Janice, ask me about that, how to do that. So I'm going to be doing a live stream on that coming up here next Monday. So
very cool. All right, thanks, AD.
Yeah.
So that is this week's show. We'll be back. We'll talk about maybe in the post show when we'll come back and start the January. I think we can do January in one show, and maybe February 2. So we'll catch back up really quick here. So until next show, keep shooting. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. All right. Now
don't go anywhere because we got a cool post show thing to show you.
Now we're in the post show. What is the cool thing you got to show us?
Well, Mike, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I'm going to screen share something with you, and I'm going to ask you to tell me something about what I'm screen sharing.
Uh-oh. What did I do? Is this something about me?
Oh. No,
where do I have single?
All right. I just sent a screen share over to you. You can figure out on your end with all those buttons that you have how to get that screen share to show up.
Do I need to be ready? Why do I not have?
It should just come across. Doesn't it come across as a separate NDI these days?
I think it is.
I think it does, but I couldn't figure out how to get it to work. I just capped the screen. I just put it out there because
that's what I have to do here. So give me a second. I'll capture.
We'll give Mike a second because I did throw this on him. Like I told him, it won't be any problem, Mike.
Yeah. There we go.
You know, it would probably just be easier for you if I controlled what you saw through my feed on my end, wouldn't it?
It would be, but that didn't take me too long to get that set up.
Okay. I want to ask you a question, Mike.
And now forget that, I'm leaving post show up there because we're in post show, but that wasn't in your image.
No, it's not in my image. No.
Yes. What's the question?
You tell me what time of day this photo was taken.
Because the snow is going to throw us off because of how bright the snow is. I'm going to say either early in the morning or later in the evening. Let's say like sunrise or sunset. Okay.
And I'm going to ask you another question.
Do I get to know if I'm right on the first answer?
How do you think this photo was taken? I'll tell you the answer to both of those when we get done here.
How do I think it was taken?
Yeah.
You mean like with what camera?
Yeah.
Well,
Mike thinks I'm roping him into something here,
I
but
know,
I'm not. I'm
know.
not roping you in.
In this, who knows? I'm seeing whatever image you're sending through the screen here. It could be a phone. It could be from a phone. Or
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll give you that one. It is from a phone.
Okay.
This photo was shot at 2 a.m. in the morning.
2 a.m.
with a cell phone.
What? Now, why I went with sunrise sunset is off in the distance. That house that's over there on our far left.
Yep.
It looks like there might have been a little bit of sun hitting that.
Yep.
And so that's why I thought maybe this is sunrise sunset.
That's a street light.
That's a street light. Okay. So there we go. So this was at, you said 2 a.m.?
2 a.m. in the morning, yes.
What was causing what?
It was dark. It was dark out. You couldn't see any of this when I snapped it with a phone. You see the resolution, Mike? This is a 12 megapixel shot. Do you see the noise?
No, from this I don't actually see noise.
You can almost see the snowflakes flying.
Yeah, I see
the dark.
I see. The only thing I see is a little bit of a blur from the whatever that thing is that's spinning.
Yeah, this is our little chimes around our house. Okay,
but no, it looks. And any post processing to it?
Nope.
Which phone is this?
Wait a second.
That looks good.
You see that shot?
That looks really good. Yes.
That was taken at the same time. That's out the front of my house.
What the hell? Why is it so bright? It looks so cloudy that there was no moonlight giving you light.
No, there's no light. There's no artificial light going on here. This is just the light from their front of their house. Ours wasn't even on at the time. Our side light it was here. This was just taken before the show, just on my desk. Yeah. The only light in the room was from my monitor. If you zoom in, you'll see that there is a little bit of artifacting and noise going on in here.
But not too bad.
All right, not too bad. But then this is without that special stuff on there. And you're not seeing it in the resolution that I can see, but there's quite a bit of noise and pixelation here.
Right, yeah.
There is a new mode on your Pixel camera that you have, your Android camera that you have in your pocket.
I have a Samsung.
If you load up your... Oh, I thought you had a Pixel.
My son has a Pixel. I have the Samsung.
Okay, you have the Samsung.
S9 Plus.
Okay. Do you have the Android camera app, though, just the plain one, or do you have the Samsung one?
I have the Samsung one.
Okay. There is a new mode that's on the new Android camera, which comes with Android Pie, I think it's called now, and it has a mode called Night Shot. And what it effectively does is, when we hold our camera up and we kind of move a little bit, right? Yeah. We kind of move. It actually takes that movement, and instead of making it a bad thing, it actually takes many shots really fast.
Pixel shift thing.
And it does pixel shifting on your stinking cell phone and makes photos look better than they can with my DSLR. I mean, I could take a long exposure, but there's still going to be noise in there. I am blown away. And if you think it looks good in the dark, when you use this damn thing in the light, it looks even better. There is no noise. There's no artifacts. Even when you zoom way in on things, you don't get any artifacting. And it's available in just about any flavor Android. I think you can, on your Samsung, I think you can download, probably not from the Google Play Store, but maybe.
That's where I was going. What's it called?
Look for the Google Camera app. Now, I know Apple is working on something as well, but I can't even believe it. To me, this changes everything about using a phone to take photos with.
There's Google Lens. That's probably not it, huh?
That is not it. If you don't have it, I can send you a link where you can get the APK, which anybody can use. So it's a safe file for you to use that allows you to use it on a Samsung. Samsung's pretty closed about what they allow on their camera, on their devices. They want you to use all Samsung apps. But in this case, the Google camera, which shoots in RAW, by the way, it does this process in JPEG only.
Okay.
But It's amazing.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah, send me that link.
You almost don't need any post-processing when you can get that kind of quality out of just a straight shot. So yeah. I wanted to share that with you because I thought you'd find the technology is called Night Shot, and it's available on Android devices, mostly just anything other than Samsung.
Okay.
So,
and now it's called Night Shot, but you can use it anytime. And what's it's doing is the pixel shift?
It's doing pixel shift. So yeah, you can use it at any time. Let me see while we're right here in chat really quick. Let me open up another window really quick, and let me see if I can. That's going to cause problems. Please don't open all those tabs.
We're still sharing your one image.
Yep. No. It was opening a billion tabs, and I was afraid it was going to lag the.
Oh yeah.
Let me just see if I can find.
That's why I can't open a web page right now. It'll reopen everything I had open before, and I generally run with about 150 tabs open at any one time.
Yep. Okay, so there's a website called APK Mirror, which is a safe site to download this stuff from. I'm going to send you in. Is it okay to send it in Skype chat?
That or the Google Hangout chat, which I leave open all the time too. Either way. I'll do it in
Hangouts just because I don't know what Skype will do because it's Skype and it might reverse the time-space continuums or something. I don't know. But you can share this with people in YouTube, by the way. You're going to have to make sure if you run these APKs, you do have to make sure that your phone is in developer mode, which if you're not sure how to do that, please just Google it. It's a safe thing to do to your phone. And you're also going to have to allow APKs from an unknown source to be run on your phone. As long as you don't get them from any place other than APK Mirror, you're fine. So just go to APK Mirror to get your stuff. Don't ever download this stuff from anywhere else. You'll be perfectly safe, perfectly fine. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And you can run that on any Android phone. It might not perform all that great on older operating systems like say going back to maybe what was it before Oreo, the MN Marshmallow. It might not actually work with them, but yeah, you just you can see right listed on there. I don't know if does it list night mode on there? It doesn't look like it's listing it.
I don't see it. So the HDR, video stabilization, smart burst, photosphere, lens blur, slow motion. I don't see night mode.
Check it out and see if it does. Just download the latest version of it that they have there.
Don't click the start now thing. That's an ad.
No, don't click the ads. I don't see that because I have an ad blocker. I'm not a nice guy. I block those things.
I should too.
Sorry. No, my friends. I allow my friends' sites. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't click this thing here. That's the download button you want.
Yep. Well, actually, no, that's not the download. If you skip down, Mike.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's Google Chrome. Don't do that.
Don't listen to me. Don't do
see this. See the arrow. Go back up. Yeah. See the Google Camera 6.1 right in that down arrow. Mm-hmm. That's what you want to download from.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything else is an ad on that page, and it's noted by the little. You see the little play thing up there, and the little and the X tells you that they're usually ads.
And you have a little bitty word right there.
Yeah, Google makes them have to do that now. So if you don't have an ad blocker, but that's the latest camera, and it is absolutely amazing. The software AI stuff that they're doing, what they're doing now is all the stuff that we submitted to AI and all this stuff. What they're starting to do is use that to take inferior, and I don't want to say inferior because it's far superior. The lenses and stuff they put in these cameras is incredible technology. Don't look at it that way, but it's inferior when it comes to a DSLR or something like that. But what they're doing is they're taking the AI and they're able to make up for that in the software now. We're starting to see a shift because if you think about it, our eyes are a fairly simple device as far as what they contain for components, yet it pulls off some amazing stuff because of our brain and the things that we have in our head. So I think that shift is starting to come where the software is getting, or the hardware is getting simpler, and the software is getting more advanced.
Can't anything that they can do in a phone, so every advance they make in a phone, we can do in our regular cameras too, especially mirrorless.
Right, and so the pixel shifting technology is hitting all cameras, and I would make a strong prediction that in another 5 years, pixel shifting technology is going to be like, unless they come out with something that does it better, you're going to see every camera have that option, because it allows you higher resolution with the same sensors that are currently available, better noise reduction, low light operation. Now, keep in mind, this is all for still photography. If you're doing high speed stuff, action, this is not going to work. As you saw with the little chime that was blowing in the wind there, you're going to get a blurry result out of that. I have not tried panning with it yet. I think that would be pretty neat to do, is to pan with a subject and see how that takes all those images and tries to put all that together. That might be a really interesting result from that. But those were all held, I just held them up. But the little movement that you make when you're holding your camera, it's using that to the advantage. Yeah. And layering all that stuff together. And
I would have never guessed that was at 2 or 1 in the morning, whatever you said, that with no moonlight or anything else helping out. That was pretty incredible.
When I looked out the back, it was dark. I had to take about 6 shots in order to find something that I could get focus on. And when I first looked out the window, I couldn't get focused. My eyes couldn't get focus on anything. As I stood there, I started to be able to see things to focus on, and I would click on the screen, and the focus would go in and out, and then it would catch, and I'd be like, that's the one. And so I just, it took me 5 or 6 photos to get it just perfect. But I think that's probably the next thing they'll do, is figure out some way to make it focus in the dark as well, using... and I know some cameras have lasers on the back that do that now. So it's really interesting to see where the technology goes. It's pretty exciting.
I don't think any of my current cameras have it, but way back when I first got into DSLRs, I think my D100, my Nikon D100 had it, that laser that you could turn on or off. It was distracting if you're shooting a person with it. They had this red light in their face. But I think it had it. Yeah, it could focus. It could focus in near darkness.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So they're going to have to start making that technology a reality too, either using infrared or whatever. And I know a lot of a lot of the lights are getting fairly technical on the back of cameras now. Yeah, on cell phones, that they have several different LEDs to get light balance just right, and all sorts of stuff. I know the iPhones have. Like a yellow and a white LED, both, to kind of get the light balance just perfect on the back. So
I mean, cell phones they're little computers. I mean, they have really advanced from the day of just having a phone. Mine's a Galaxy S10 Plus. It has 2 cameras on the back. Yep. 2 cameras, a fingerprint sensor, which I really like the fingerprint being on the back. It makes it so much easier. It's just natural when you pick it up. You can
you just pick it up
and then it has at least two lights right here. One's like the flashlight, which is heck, I use it all the time as a flashlight. And then the others, I don't know, maybe they're the flashes. I don't know what the other 2 do.
Well, there's no, it's your heartbeat sensors.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, I think if you do your heartbeat, you put them up there and it measures your heartbeat.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Cool stuff, though. I wanted to share that with you because I thought you'd find that pretty interesting. Technology that's coming.
My son has the Pixel 3. I'm going to ask him if he's got that app, and then maybe I can play with it.
Yeah. So when you load it up, just real quick before we go, when you load up the camera, you'll see down at the bottom there's this line of things right here. Yeah. This line of stuff. If you swipe over, you'll see that there's other stuff on each one. Swipe all the way over till you see more, and then night shot will be right up there.
Okay.
Night shot. You can see now, just looking behind me, that's all dark back there.
Yeah.
So you can see the difference of light of what this camera is seeing there. And if I take a shot in the night mode, you'll watch how it activates. I'm going to do this one. I can't see what I'm doing. Try to hold it steady. You see it takes a few shots. But then let's see what it took. Boop. So look how bright that is.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And the thing is that, I mean, I'm zoomed in. That's the Terminator skull on the table over there, which is hard to see because of the...
Yeah, you're getting some light off your monitor. That's probably...
But yeah. I mean, it's just in the detail. There's no noise, and I can see every detail in that 3D print. It's pretty fantastic. So,
dang,
crazy new technology.
Yeah, my standard Samsung app doesn't have anything like that.
Yeah, and a lot of the cameras on these cell phones are good, but I'd never seen anything like that before. I mean, the camera on the Pixel 2, and I have just the Pixel 2, is a good camera. I mean, it was ranked really high, but yeah, I never realized because I think DxO Mark ranked it, up there with that and the iPhone 10 were like the two top cameras going, and when I saw this, I was just like, holy cow, there's a whole new way to take photos that look pretty amazing.
That is amazing, especially that one, the two you showed us outside. Yeah. And the amount of noise that you got on those little guys, little bobbleheads. Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out and here in the post show and getting some bonus material. Ron, Jan, I know we had some other people drop by who didn't type in the chat, but thank you, Jan. Thank you, Ron, and whoever else dropped by. We're going to go ahead and stop the live stream. We'll see you next show. Good night, guys.